Nickelback is How You Remind Me. It's a great song, and it's a song that is echoed in the hearing ear of my next guest, who is Rhys James. You'll know him from QI, Live at the Apollo, Mock the Weekend, so many more things, including now his new book, You'll Like It When You Get There, A Life Lived Reluctantly. We have loads of places to go with this. Rhys, welcome. Nice to
lovely
see
stuff. Good to see you too. Thanks for having me.
Nickelback, as I say, soundtrack to your youth.
I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of that song in particular. Then I think Nickelback jump the shark. But you stick to the old ones on Virgin Radio, and I respect that. You've curated a playlist entirely for my 12-year-old self.
Yeah. We saw you coming. We said, come on, let's make you feel at home. Congratulations on your book, I should say, because I think what it does is it addresses one of those great kind of conundrums, if you like, for people, which is how to deal with an introvert.
Yeah.
And how for introverts to know how to deal with the loudmouth, like somebody like me or something like that. So let's talk about introversion and that beautiful moment of you hiding upstairs.
Sure.
And the doorbell rings. Bring us to that room.
How
old were you?
I assume what you're referring to is the thing I dread the most as a child was the phrase "come downstairs and say hello."
I think that's going to really chime with a lot of people.
Yeah, that's the thing people keep mentioning of like that. Oh, it wasn't until you said that bit that I understand what you're on about. Because yes, I think every child sort of dreads that, but I think a big part of that is what do you possibly expect me to have in common with the person you're introducing me to downstairs, mother and father?
Yeah.
Because this is, your sort of 48-year-old mate Graham. What is he going to... He's under pressure.
Yeah.
Because I'm now the 48-year-old mate Graham who occasionally is speaking to a child who's been forced to come downstairs and say hello to me. And I'm like, I don't want to have to do this either.
Yeah.
This is an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
What can I say to relate to this person? And so I just sort of ignore them and I'm just sort of like, go off. Just go away.
Yeah,
you don't need to try and do anything for me. I describe in the book that it felt like I was, going to be paraded in front of them like a sort of whippet, and they were going to analyse my teeth and stuff. Really, they would say, "You've grown," which was not true because I was a really late bloomer.
Yeah.
And my mum used to mark our heights on the very cliche American movie because my brother was shooting up quite quickly. I'll mark our heights on the door frame, and mine stayed the same for so long that people would come around and think I died. They'd just be like, "Oh, he must be gone." Oh well. And then
you lost one.
That's why they were saying, "Come down and say hello. Prove that you're still alive, Rhys."
We just want proof of life.
Yeah, exactly.
So why did you decide to say commit your story to paper and say, look, I've got this series of tales. We'll talk about some of them in a moment, but why now?
Well, part of it is that I sort of realised that it doesn't work when I try and do these things in stand-up.
Yeah.
So my stand-up style is sort of like quite high status, and if an embarrassing thing happens to me, the me on stage can't know that that's happened. The audience can know, but I can't.
Okay.
So to be really honest and vulnerably tell these humiliating stories about various things that happened to me and how they sort of crushed me into an introvert's life.
Yes.
This was the medium for it because, you've got a little bit more time to let it breathe. I'm not met with the whites of anyone's eyes unless I stare at them reading it on the tube or whatever.
Yeah.
And I can just be like, right, put it out there. I think this is funny, but I think this is the way to do it. So partly it was just like, it's a church and state separation for me with these two mediums. It's like, that's not how I do stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
So how else can I do this? The other option was a podcast. I can't be bothered with that.
Everyone's doing them.
Exactly. Put the book out, people can buy it forever. Whereas, probably for, at some point, for 10p in a charity shop.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Wait if you want. I don't mind. But, a podcast, I've got to turn up every week.
Yeah. It's not your style.
Got to put those headphones on
I know.
Oh, I can't be bothered, Ryan.
You call it a dread memoir, which I think is a really interesting term. Because that's not one I've heard before. Talk to me about that.
No, I don't think that is a phrase.
Congratulations.
I'm just struggling with, I don't think it's a phrase that's going to catch on either, to be honest.
Right.
You just struggle with, I don't know. I mean, some people are great at it, but the whole, just sort of describe your work. I'm like, in comedy, I'm so used to writing in a way that is as efficient as possible and has the greatest word economy.
Yes.
And I was like, what is the shortest way that I can sort of half describe what this book is? Dread memoir, 2 words. You kind of get it from that, don't you?
Yeah.
I don't know if you do. Maybe you don't.
No, very much. It sums it up. You said that you're at the mercy of an audience and the judgment of an audience, inviting them to see me through their own lens.
Yeah.
That's quite terrifying sounding. I was telling you about the chat show I used to do, which was live,
yeah.
fully live with no breaks or whatever. But I would never do what you do, which is that throwing yourself at like that.
Well, you are to an extent. I think you are and you aren't, because you can't you can't entirely control how you're perceived, but the closest you can do to that is probably stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
So
for
the
sure.
closest you can do to control. But this, if you write a book and sort of, you can also control what you put in a book. I haven't done that. I've gone no filter and just sort of said everything. So now it's just sort of like, here you go. I think that was in a sense, I think I was trying to set myself free from worrying about how I was perceived, because I was like, well, I'll put it all down and you can read it and then do what you want with it.
Yeah.
Because I've never said any of this stuff before, really, any of these anecdotes. So it does feel, I do feel vulnerable about that, like I put myself out there, but at the same time, I'm just trying to be funny. They're not too serious. So like they might lead to some serious feeling in my head, but who cares about that?
But I find that intriguing as you talk about the vulnerability of your book versus what you describe yourself as being a little cockier on stage. I think that's
definitely. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that contrast. That's intriguing.
Yeah, I've sort of got like I think I'm considered to have a sort of little brother energy on stage. It's just sort of like, I'm nipping at the heels and I'm just saying sort of like cheeky things, but in like quite an annoying way, I think.
Little brother energy is
brilliant. Little brother energy is the vibe, really. And this is a bit more open.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't think the cliche to say it's more honest, but I don't think I'm not being honest when I do stand-up comedy.
Yeah,
I'm just doing it in a different way.
Honesty,
I'm doing it in a different way, yeah. But this is definitely more open and direct, because I'm saying literally, this happened and I felt like this, which I just wouldn't do in stand-up, because, I don't know, people are out for a laugh and I'm just trying to go, every 10 seconds I'm just trying to be as funny as possible on stage. Whereas in this book, it's sort of like, maybe I'm happy to go 5 or 6 lines without a punchline.
Yes.
Not more than that, to be honest.
But you're giving
I'm not
a bit
delving too long. But I can go into a bit more detail and I can sort of go into like what it made me feel and long-term effects that like certain things have had on me.
Okay, great. I'm just, as you're talking, I'm thinking, it reminds me of, the Incredible Hulk when I was a kid just was about a man who turns green when he gets angry, and that's the end of it. Now the Incredible Hulk has a psychiatrist.
Well, exactly, yeah. That's what people want these days. They want the backstory, yeah. And it's very nice of you to be reminded of the Incredible Hulk by me.
I know.
People say that all the time.
I think it's the green top. I'm going to give you that.
Well, I am furious.
You describe in your book brilliantly about London, and I really enjoyed the descriptions about, even during COVID, you were living near, you had Daniel Craig a few streets down, you had Stanley Johnson walking in the park up the road. Like, COVID was so mad. In fact, some people accused you of being hard of hearing because when you were
you had to have an earpiece on Mock the Week because you couldn't hear anyone through the Perspex screens. And so now the main Google autocomplete after my name is Rhys James deaf, because it looked like I had a hearing aid in.
Isn't it funny what people spend their time wondering?
Yeah, and the other
about.
one is Rhys James' mum, because Ed Gamble said that my mum is fit on TV. So now all people want to know about is,
oh my God,
is this guy deaf? Will he hear me chatting up his mum?
How did your mum take that?
Well, I think I don't know.
She complimented.
He didn't mean it literally. It was just I don't think he's met my mum. I think he just assumed and was trying to wind me up. It was one of those classic type of mature jokes.
I hear you. So you said London is inhabited by a diverse range of savages and freaks. I mean, that's the tourist board.
It's hard to argue. I think London and New York, people would say that's the case. It's not exclusively inhabited by those people.
No.
And also to clarify, knocking about with Daniel Craig and Stanley Johnson, they were in these big townhouses, of which I was in the attic flat of a converted one for way too expensive a time, and it was a tiny 1-bedroom pokey little thing. I don't want your listeners to think this guy's swanning around with Daniel Craig.
He's got his mum hanging around looking amazing. He's got a hearing aid.
He's got all that modelling cash from his mum.
He's got all that going on. This guy's living the best life ever. Now, you've said in the past that your favourite funniest book that you like to read is Steve Martin.
I love Steve Martin's books a lot, yeah.
He's 80 today.
Is he?
Yeah.
Wow, well, happy birthday, Steve Martin.
But it's just like incredible 80. I mean, he's one of those guys who doesn't look it. Certainly.
No, he looks fantastic.
And is he your comic, TV film?
Certainly one of them. Yeah, certainly one of them. I mean, I've got a very different style to him, but I think lots of comedians' favourite comedian is often nothing like them.
Of course.
He's one of my heroes. Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah,
I was thinking The Jerk. That film, The Jerk.
Amazing.
I mean, it's got to be
just
one of
sensational.
Just
all of them are. I mean, his sort of oeuvre is absolutely, his back catalogue is sensational.
Yeah.
And his books, I think a lot of people don't know about.
I've never read his books, actually.
Certainly, he's got the one Born Standing Up, which is a book about his comedy career, which is he basically got too famous and then quit. He was like playing stadiums and was like, you've got to stop because this is getting out of hand. He invented Well, excuse me.
Was
He
that his?
invented that. Yeah, that was his catchphrase that just became sort of playground fodder. And then his other books, he's got a thing called Pure Drivel, which is basically sort of an essay collection, really, and it was his articles. But then it's his novels. He's got one called The Pleasure of My Company. That's my favourite book of all time, I think.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know
fantastic.
that. Okay, that's a nice book recommendation. He plays banjo, doesn't he?
Yes,
that's
yeah.
his sort of sidebar thing.
Yeah, Rambling Man and all that sort of stuff.
Okay, yeah, okay. So he's really. So do you still going back to your book and this idea of the introvert, you kind of extroverted introvert, whatever you want to call it? Do you still celebrate when plans are cancelled? You talk about the Andy Murray fist pump. Is that a real thing, or does it depend on what plans they are?
It certainly does depend. I'll tell you what, it happens less since writing the book.
Does it?
So what I realised, because I also talk in the book about, I brag about completing therapy in 4 goes. What it means really is that I went to therapy, it didn't really work. I found it so boring.
Yeah.
I was speaking out loud about all this stuff and I was like, God, this is dull. Classic introvert, I don't want to say stuff. But what actually happened is I wrote the book and it's sort of like by talking about all these feelings and this stuff, it sort of removed its power for me.
Yeah.
Because I put it down and then when you have to read back the book and all that, you're like, this is ridiculous. Ridiculous way to feel. And so since then, I've sort of developed from writing the book a slightly larger zest for life and
nice
for
one.
experiences.
Gosh,
so it feels like I've slightly got it out of my system.
Yeah.
Now, I know me and I know it will come back.
Yeah.
But I've got to sort of enjoy this moment and relish these things.
Yeah.
But yes, it certainly would depend on the plans. But I'd say in the sort of like half an hour before you have to leave the house and you're thinking, oh, can I really be bothered with really it would just be the first hurdle of the arrival and that slightly awkward bit of small talk before you get into it being fun.
Yeah.
I would just go, that's why it's called You Like It When You Get There, because eventually it is fantastic. It's just that little bit at the start, that standing outside a pub that you're meeting a group in and they've already been there for a bit and you've got to find them and then try and get into the conversation.
Yeah, get the groove going.
Exactly.
On.
I would just stand outside that pub and think, I'll just go home.
Yeah.
Think, I'll just go home, turn my phone off, never hear from anyone again, move country.
Yeah, that's it.
Forget about it. But then if you do that, you've got to start again, got to meet people again. Go, oh my God.
Okay, take it from scratch. So this sounds like it was quite therapeutic. I know the therapy didn't
It
work
has turned
but
out to be quite therapeutic, writing the book.
It worked a treat. Okay, we got to say goodbye for now, but don't be a stranger. Come back and see us again. You're going to be doing an event tonight. If people want to get along, they can
Yeah,
get
it's an in
tickets.
conversation with Ed Gamble. I'm sure he'll say things
great.
about my family. That's in London.
Yeah.
There's tickets available. It's just sort of chatting about the book.
He's hoping your mum will be there, obviously.
Yeah, oh
Fingers
God,
crossed.
she is going to be there. Oh God,
Here it comes.
If you want to see if she is fit, then this is the show to come to.
So where's it on? What time? Where?
That's on at Leicester Square Theatre at 9:30 p.m.
Amazing. Okay, in conversation. Showandtellpresents.com for
Yeah,
tickets
or
and
rhysjames.co.uk.
Even better. Okay, Rhys, what a pleasure to see you. Congratulations on the book.
Thank you
Reminding
so
people
much.
You'll
Great
like
to
it
see
when
you.
you get there. People will enjoy it tremendously, and I enjoyed meeting you. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.